Picture ancient history. Usually, it's a story written by guys about guys, right? Well, today, we're flipping that script entirely. Welcome to this explainer. We're going to look at some mind-blowing historical evidence that completely shatters everything we thought we knew about ancient power dynamics. So, was the ancient world really just a boys' club? Not even close. Centuries ago in India, the Satavahana Empire was out there completely defying expectations. We're talking about a society where mighty kings actually took their mothers' names, and queens didn't just sit pretty on the sidelines. They ruled as regents and called the shots. It totally begs the question, who were these powerhouse women, and how did they grab such incredible sway over an entire empire? Let's dive into Section 1, the ancient patriarchy myth. Time to start challenging that norm. Which brings us to Section 2, the mystery of matronymics. If you haven't heard of matronomics, it's basically the practice of adopting a name derived from your mother or a female ancestor. And in the Satavahana Empire, some of the most powerful emperors proudly did exactly this. We actually have historical records of mighty rulers with names like Gautamiputra Satakarni and Vashistiputra Pulamavi. Notice those prefixes? They literally translate to the sons of Gautami and Vashishti. They embedded their mother's identities right there in their own royal titles. How cool is that? Now, this brilliantly illustrates a really fascinating cultural balance. Because sure, succession to the throne was still technically patrilineal, passing from father to son, but this widespread practice of matronymic naming wasn't just some weird quirk. It's solid proof of the immense respect and the incredibly high social status that royal women commanded. They were literally the anchors of the dynasty's identity. Moving right along to Section 3, Powerhouse Queens of India. When you look at this chronological sequence, the trajectory of female leadership is just incredible. We start off with Queen Nayanika. When King Satakarni I died, he left behind only minor sons, so she stepped right up as regent. She held the whole empire together. Fast forward a few decades, and we see Queen Gautami Balasri stepping in as a vital political guide and strategist for her own son, who eventually became the empire's greatest ruler. And the crucial thing to take away here is that Queen Nayanika didn't just keep the throne warm for the kids. She actively governed. She conducted these grand Vedic sacrifices, which back then were massive displays of religious and political power. But here's the absolute kicker. She was one of the very first female rulers in all of Indian history to flex her economic power by having her own image struck on the empire's coins. I mean, that is a massive statement of ultimate authority. Similarly, Queen Gautami Balasri wasn't just known for being a mom. She commissioned the famous Nashik inscription. And this wasn't just some random piece of carved stone. It is lasting historical proof of her high literacy and her deep political influence. She was the one immortalizing the empire's achievements, literally shaping the historical narrative with her own words. Let's shift gears a bit for Section 4, Everyday Women in Society. You might be wondering, did this royal empowerment actually reach beyond the palace walls? Well, to find out, we look at historical records found at ancient Buddhist sites, specifically Amaravati and Nagarjunakonda. The inscriptions carved into these sites give us this totally unvarnished window into the lives of everyday Satavahana women. We're talking about the wives of merchants, artisans, and local officials. And the sheer level of autonomy these everyday women possessed is honestly staggering. The inscriptions prove they were making independent financial donations to monasteries. Let that sink in for a second. That implies they had their own money, they held individual property rights, and they actively participated in the religious and social life of their communities entirely on their own terms. For that era of human history, that level of freedom was incredibly rare. Which brings us to our final section, Architects of an Empire. When you put it all together, the evidence from the Satavahana Dynasty definitively proves that women were so much more than just silent observers hanging out in the background of history. They shaped their society at literally every single level. From the throne room, where queens acted as regents and issued coins, all the way down to the bustling marketplaces, where everyday women held property and made their own financial donations. They were, without a doubt, the active architects of their empire. So as we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with this provocative thought. If the women of the Satavahana Empire defied the historical norms so spectacularly and successfully hid their incredible influence right out in the open on coins and stone inscriptions, how many other ancient female leaders, thinkers, and builders are just waiting to be rediscovered? Have we literally been looking at ancient history through the wrong lens this entire time?